Hello and welcome to the One Christmas Show with Bhav, Joshi
and Luke Thomas.
We are in St Catherine's Church, Stoke Aldermore, and we're here in a brand new building. This building didn't even exist 12 months ago, but with the help of the community, of the church, and also with Together for Change, they were able to raise lots of money and get this building up and running. And what an amazing building it is. In today's show, we're going to be talking to a number of people, including Jet Jones, the director of Together for Change, with Jess Pollard, who runs the Good Neighbours scheme. We're going to be looking at Coventry Cathedral and all that's been going on there, and also talking to a number of children in the community about what they're looking forward to with Christmas up and coming.
We'll also be talking to Bishop John later on this evening, as well as Simon Betteridge, the lead chaplain of the University Coventry Hospital, as well as Tim Mitchell, the leader of Online Church, and two wonderful singers, Chris Raspin and Malcolm Evans.
There's been a lot of amazing projects going on across the whole of the diocese. One of those is Saints Nuneaton, and Gareth Fitzpatrick, a member of the online team, has been catching up with Jet Jones all about this project.
I'm here at Saints Nuneaton to meet Jet Jones, Director of Regeneration and CEO of Together for Change, to find out a little bit about what's going on at Saints. Jet, we are sat in what was a nightclub and is now a Churches Together project. How on earth has this come about?
It's a good story, actually. I'd love to tell it you. For years, the churches in Nuneaton have been gathering together to pray every Wednesday, and it's an ecumenical group of ministers that meet, and they've really been praying for the town. They've been praying for their churches, and they've been praying that God would give them a building that they could do fantastic regeneration projects from. But do you know what the incredible thing is? 3 years to the date of that prophecy being given, that the churches together will have a Nuneaton building in the town, was exactly the time when we opened the building, and that was January 2020, which is amazing. So you just can't doubt God's in it, can you, Gareth?
Wow, that is certainly confirmation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Jet, I would ask you about what goes on week to week here, but I know a certain somebody who is, well, he's probably said it better than you ever could.
Hi, I'm Aaron, and welcome back to the Awesome Saints Project. I'd like to show you what has already been done and our plans for the future. Come on in. In Phase 1, we turned an old run-down derelict nightclub into this.
I believe you're coming up to Saint's first birthday.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, it'd be wrong not to give you a lovely piece of cake.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
I have to blow it out. Love it. Thank you. I'll eat that later.
Great. So looking towards the future, I know it's quite hard to predict what's going to happen, but what are your plans for the future?
Well, I tell you what I could do. I could show you.
So Jet, we're upstairs, we've got our coats on, it's quite cold. Tell us a bit about the plans for the future.
Yeah, well, we really want to restore this building back to its former glory. It is a beautiful building, but it's been mothballed upstairs for decades. So we really have plans to renovate it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of money that needs to be fundraised. First thing we want to do is focus on enterprise and equip. Enterprises, helping start new business enterprises from here, equipping people with skills for life. Yeah. The second thing we want to do is focus on sport and support. So sporting opportunities, things like boxing or Pilates, and supporting people through that. And then the third and final area is we want to focus on create and connect. Now, create and connect is all about dance, drama, media, music, photography, the arts, really.
For those watching, who have been inspired by what you've done here. What words of encouragement would you give to them if they want to go and do something similar in their community or on a smaller scale?
Yeah, okay, well, I would just say listen to what God's doing in the community already and get involved with that. You know, find out what He's already at work in. And I would just say take a step of faith and do it. Just get involved because it's so worth it.
Great. Well, thank you for your time this morning. It's been inspiring and
Cold.
cold. It's been cold, but yeah, we would just wish you all the best and pray for you in your next year.
Thank you.
Luke, do you remember Neighbours?
Never watched Neighbours. My wife loved it. I never watched
You
it.
don't
No.
remember? That's when good neighbours become good friends.
I mean, we all know the theme tune, but no, never watched
I
it
think
myself.
maybe 20 years ago it was more of a girly thing to watch, probably not a guy thing to watch really, but I mean I loved it. And this section is about good neighbours, so yeah, we're just really excited to be sharing what wonderful things our neighbours have been doing around the pandemic.
I'm at the Binley Food Bank, the home of Hope Coventry and of the Good Neighbours initiative. Today I'm going to meet project manager Jess Day Pollard and find out a little bit of what they're up to. Hiya Jess, thank you for meeting today.
You're very welcome.
For those who've not heard about the Good Neighbours project, can you tell me a little bit about why you exist, what you do and how you've adapted during the COVID pandemic?
Sure. So we were set up in 2016 by Coventry churches who realised that there was a massive problem with isolation and loneliness with older Coventrians. And throughout the last 4 years, we've been supporting isolated older people through church volunteers and projects happening in churches. The main two things we've done are one-to-one home befriending. So a volunteer goes and visits an older person on a regular basis to chat to them. But also we've helped run and fund and establish older people's friendship groups, because for those who aren't housebound, it's important that they have safe places to go where they can meet other people and learn new skills, like we've helped run and fund how to use a computers class, or we've also helped fund Pilates groups. Obviously during COVID, lots of activity had to change, and so we weren't able to initially run our home befriending service, and all of the friendship groups closed. And that meant that a significant number of older people were even more isolated than ever. For example, before COVID, we had 120 regulars who had home visits, and during COVID, we grew to help over 840 regulars with various different things. For example, we were aware that older people were struggling to access food, so we very quickly set up a food shopping service to provide a food shopping service for those who weren't able to get out, and we did £32,000 worth of shopping for those people. In addition, we collected prescriptions, we walked dozens of dogs, we distributed about 150 jigsaws, and we basically made sure that all of these 850 older people were checked on and kept safe and well throughout COVID.
Amazing. It's been in the news, in the media, the rise in poor mental health has been a real feature, and that's been, you know, they're talking about the link between isolation and loneliness and that going on the rise. Can you share some good news stories where you've been able to help those people who are experiencing isolation and loneliness?
Sure. So we've had one lady referred to us by her GP, and that's not unusual for us. A lot of people come to us via the NHS, and the GP said that she was having a double appointment every week just to chat to her GP because she was so depressed and anxious and isolated. And it took quite a lot of persuasion actually for her to accept a volunteer. At first we tried to match them over the phone, and she was really too nervous to engage, so the intrepid volunteer decided to go and talk at her window so that she could at first understand who this person was that was chatting to her, and then they were able to build that telephone relationship. And the GP then got in touch with us and said, have you heard from her? Is she all right? Because she's not coming in anymore at all.
Wow.
So it's made a real difference to her, and there are countless other stories like her.
That's amazing to hear that the work you're doing is actually relieving our GPs and having a great effect. So we're coming to Christmas time. Now Christmas time can be a great time for lots of people, but it can also be a very low time, a hard time, which is going to be heightened again by kind of what's going on in the world. Can you tell me some of the work that you're going to be doing at this time of year?
Yeah, so obviously we want to get as many people matched up to befrienders as possible before Christmas. So we're working really hard to establish those relationships. Our kind of motto at the moment is give your presents rather than a present. But in addition, we've also fundraised to be able to send a Christmas card and a magazine of hope to all of the older people so that somebody was thinking of them. And also kindly Wiltshire Farm Foods have been in touch with us to offer a free Christmas dinner to any of the older people that we're aware are isolated. So there are some great initiatives going on to help people get through Christmas.
Brilliant, that's amazing to hear. Finally, Jess, people will be watching this and no doubt be moved by what you're doing. If they wanted to get in touch by volunteering or donating some money towards your ministry, how can they get in touch?
So we've got a website, hopecoventry.org.uk, and all of the donation and volunteering details are on there, plus my contact details if anybody wants to get in touch to volunteer. It's really simple, it's just from half an hour a fortnight as the minimum, so really flexible and easy to get involved.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your time. It's been amazing to hear just some of the stories that you've been up to in the last year, so thank you.
Lovely to chat.
Wow, £32,000. That's
crazy.
Amazing.
So good.
I mean, 2020 has been a really tough year for people, this year in isolation. So the Good Neighbours project is wonderful to have. And thank you to everyone that's been helping with that project and really making a difference to so many lives across our city.
One of the best local landmarks around this area is Coventry Cathedral, or should we say Coventry Cathedrals. The first was bombed in 1940, and the second was built right next door on the grounds just outside. And ever since that cathedral's been built, the work of reconciliation through the community of Nails has been going on there. So much so that over 200 communities, schools and churches across the whole globe are now part of that tireless work.
That's amazing. Have you been to the ice ring?
At the cathedral? Not yet. No, hopefully me and the kids are going to go along soon.
Can you ice skate yourself?
Just about. It's been a while.
I cannot ice skate to save my life. I think I'd end up skating right out of the ring, probably onto the ground out there.
Oh no.
Well, many events take place in both cathedrals, and the ice ring is a great example of one of those things. Staff hope and pray that obviously in 2021 we're able to welcome all of you back and enjoy some really good events. And there's some footage now to show you just what they've got planned for Christmas.
Thank you, Bhav and Luke, and welcome everyone to Coventry Cathedral, where preparations are well underway for Christmas. The ice rink is up and running, the Christmas trees and the crib are in place, as you can see, and our team of vergers has been busily arranging the chairs in socially distanced pairs. Our capacity is nothing like as much as it usually is, but we want to welcome as many people as we safely can to find comfort and joy in our Christmas services. The choir is hard at it too, and there's plenty of other work going on behind the scenes. Or perhaps we should say below the scenes. Did you know that there are offices and workrooms underneath the nave here? In fact, here's one of the points where upstairs links to downstairs. This access hole in the floor enables us to bring cables, in this case our internet connection, from where it comes into the cathedral up here to where it's needed for the streaming of our online services. And here we are on the other side of that hole. This is what we call the song school, where our choristers rehearse week by week to create the beautiful music which so many people appreciate and enjoy. Actually, this space hasn't been the song school all that long. It only moved here earlier this year to make room for the building of the pavilion, the first substantial addition to the main cathedral since it opened back in 1962. The pavilion will give us much needed meeting space and something we wanted for ages, loos at the ground floor level, and all just in time for the City of Culture next year. We've come now to another corner which our visitors don't usually catch sight of. This is the muniment room, the base for the cathedral's team of vergers, who are at the heart of making things happen here. This is also where we keep the vestments, the special clothes worn by the cathedral ministers, with different colours for the different seasons of the church's year. At the moment, we're in the blue of Advent, but it won't be long now before we move down the rail to the gold of Christmas, which is a journey we hope you will all take too, from Advent hope to Christmas fulfilment. All of us at the cathedral wish you a very happy Christmas. And now, as I've always wanted to say, back to the studio.
So Bhav, as we know, the bishops have been working really, really hard throughout the whole of this last year. But they've managed to find a little bit of time for us this evening, and Bishop John has been able to record for us a really great video.
Good evening. Yes, I know I do look very foolish, but the producers of the One show insisted I wore this hat, but it's very good to be with you. We may be interrupted because I have two rather unexpected visitors who've just arrived. My brother, all the way from Scotland, and a rather senior person in the life of the nation. But it's wonderful to share this evening with you. Hey, Basha, I want to go in there, Basha. It's my turn now, Basha. No, honestly, please, stay away. This is a special recording for the diocese. Stay away. Hello? Hello there, Basha. Basha says I'm not supposed to be on this thing, you know. But I was wanting to say a very happy Christmas to you all, and maybe while I'm at it, maybe a happy Hogmanay too. But what's that, Basha? There's somebody else here. Somebody else has arrived here. Oh, okay, I'll go and let him in. All right, just 1 minute. It's absolutely marvellous to be here. Oh, you're doing some recording, Bishop. Well, I heard it was the One show. And one assumes that the One show is about one. So one is delighted to be part of this magnificent evening. And your brother, he's rather strange, has kindly let me in. Sorry about that, Bishop, but I was just, having a wee blather with our new visitor. But anyways, can I just, while I'm here, before I hand back to the Bishop, my brother, wish you all, as I said, a very happy Christmas and Hogmanay too. All the very best to you.
Was that really Bishop John's brother?
I don't even know what that was.
That's not in the script. Anyway, moving on.
Bhav, I don't know about you, but I wonder what some of these school kids around the area have been like. You know, it's been an interesting year, and for us growing up, school would have been very, very different. But obviously with everything going on, school must be so strange at the moment.
Well, Luke, the head teacher of St Lawrence School in Southam, spoke to some Year 5s to find out what they're looking forward to this Christmas. Let's take a look at the footage.
Harvey, what are you looking forward to for Christmas this year?
I'm volunteering to put the Christmas decorations on the tree.
Do you help a lot at home? Oh, that's wonderful news, and that'd be lovely to do it with your sister as well, wouldn't it? And what about the other Harvey?
I like it when on Christmas Eve when you open the last Advent, and I also like the roast dinners you get because I really like my mum's cooking.
Nothing beats mum's cooking. What about you, Bella?
I'm really excited to see my granny and granddad and my cousins at Christmas time and spend some of the day with them.
Are you? Where are you going for Christmas? Are you going to their house?
I'm going to my granny's house, yeah.
Oh, you should have lots of fun with your granny. That'd be nice to see her, won't it? What about you, Annie?
I'm going to see my cousins. We go there every year.
And what do you do when you're with your cousins?
We play with them and we give each other presents.
Oh, that'll be absolutely lovely. What about yourself, Carrera?
I like about Christmas that you can spend time with your family and it's just like fun to be together.
And what about yourself, Jacob?
Well, I really like playing Monopoly with my Uncle Tom, and you can't miss out on my grandma's roast dinners.
Nobody can miss out on anybody's roast dinners. It sounds wonderful. Well, I hope you all have a really, really special Christmas.
I just really love hearing, kids playing, singing, and in this case, obviously, they were playing beautiful.
I know, they sounded great, didn't they?
I know,
really,
the Christmas
really
songs just they give me a real kind of heart-warming feeling.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Good time of the year.
It is a good time of the year. Well, our online team have been capturing some heartwarming moments of their own about ordinary acts of service throughout the year. And although it's been a tough year, there is some hope, and there has been hope throughout this year of wonderful things that people have been doing.
2020 has been a crazy year. The world went into lockdown. We clapped for our frontline workers. Captain Tom inspired a nation. Handshakes became elbows. The world took to the knee. And we heard the word unprecedented, an unprecedented amount of times. 2020 was the year that churches had to close their doors. But we didn't disappear. We went online.
Good morning, welcome to St Paul's.
Good morning, welcome to our Sunday morning service.
Welcome to our online worship this All Saints Day.
Welcome everyone to our online worship today.
We celebrated Easter from our homes and we prayed for 5 during Pentecost.
I'm praying for 5.
We're praying for 5.
I'm praying for 5.
We learned how to worship in new and creative ways. And online attendances grew as many new people tuned into our services. In June, we opened heaven as the churches from across the different denominations prayer walked the streets of Coventry. In summer, we soared. And we shared the hope of Jesus to those around us through Take Heart. And during Advent, churches are preparing for Christmas. "2020, what a year."
Isn't it great to see all the amazing things that are going on across the diocese? Tim Mitchell leads our church online team, and we're really glad to have him here with us this evening to talk us through some of those things.
So Tim, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your role before the pandemic.
Well, before the pandemic, I was supporting church leaders and lay teams, helping them establish approaches to church health and growth. So really enabling them to improve the health of their congregations and see them grow.
That's brilliant. And how has your role changed since March?
Well, I think it all changed mid-March with the announcement of the first lockdown. And this was really brought home to me when I sat in a cafe with a local vicar. And he said, "Tim, you're asking us to reinvent the church in 3 days." And I felt the pain that he expressed because it was an immense challenge for him and many of my colleagues.
And how have church leaders been supported? Obviously this is a big change for them, but also for you in terms of your team. How has it changed for them, and what's the support that you've given to them?
Well, what we found was that incumbents who had reasonable technological abilities suddenly were upskilling themselves. So we issued guidelines on using Zoom, how to stream worship services. And I must say that my colleagues were amazing in taking time and upskilling themselves almost overnight, to the point that 87% of vicars were streaming worship within a matter of months, which is, I think, remarkable.
That is absolutely amazing, but things didn't always go to plan, did they, Tim? With you or the cathedral?
Oh dear.
I
think the production team have put you onto something, haven't they?
Perhaps a little bit, yes.
And I hope you'll see how churches can support... Oh no, that's rubbish. Sorry, I'll do it again.
Let us offer one another a sign of peace.
Well, I'm glad the Dean stopped headbutting his wife, because it did go viral. Tim, tell us what's one of the things that surprised you the most about online services?
I think what I mentioned earlier on to some extent is the way in which my colleagues, church leaders, upskilled themselves so rapidly to the point that a lot of them became really competent at streaming worship and holding Zoom services. It's quite remarkable, their commitment to expressing the love of God to congregations and people beyond. And also we discovered talent in our congregations that we didn't know existed. So I understand you've got Malk Evans on and Chris Raspin a little bit later on in the show, and they've got remarkable musical abilities which we used in the summer soaring services.
That's brilliant. And how can we continue, how can people continue supporting churches, going forward?
Well, the churches are so creative. So many things are going on at the moment. St Christopher's Woburley have got a scheme to raise funds to buy children who wouldn't get a Christmas present a gift. And of course there's the off-church group who've got a nativity trail, and that's through a manor house. There are so many creative things going on in our churches. And the best place to find out really is on the website A Church Near You, because people will find that their churches are likely to be streaming worship or conducting worship in their churchyards, carol services, things like that. So I'd encourage people to go on A Church Near You. And if you're a church leader, to sign up to the parish giving scheme, because that's a way for church members to support the amazing work that is still going on.
That's wonderful, Tim. It's brilliant, isn't it, what's happened over 2020 and how you and your team have reacted, how the churches have reacted to what's going on. So it's wonderful to hear those wonderful things that are still going on and continue. So, Tim, thank you. I wish you a very Merry Christmas, and thank you for being with us and sharing such good news.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. And obviously there's some of the really great things that have been happening, but also we need to acknowledge that over the last couple of months things haven't always been as great, and many of us across the whole community have been really struggling over this time. And we're so glad to have with us tonight Simon, who's the chaplain at University Hospital, who's been on the front line throughout the whole of this time. Simon, thank you so much for joining us.
Tell us, what's it been like serving on the front line in the pandemic?
I think mostly for me it's been a huge privilege. It's felt like a privilege every day really to go and work alongside people giving of themselves, the nursing staff, the medical staff, but everybody involved at the hospital that's come in every day and done their best to care for people in some really, really difficult circumstances. And for us, there's been a real sense of privilege of being able to be alongside them really and to be part of that team.
That's wonderful. And obviously, Coventry was the very first hospital in the world to have the vaccine. How has that been for not just yourself, but obviously the staff? How do they feel about this new vaccine?
I think there was an understandable sense of pride, I think, at being able to do that and to be seen around the world as kind of leading in that way. But I think wider than that, I think it's given people a real sense of hope. I think it's been so dark at times over the last few months that actually to have that good news and to be right at the forefront of that sense of something new and good has given real sense of hope for the future actually.
That's wonderful. Well, it's great news for the hospital and for obviously everyone around the world. Tell us a little bit about the Take Heart project. What is it about, and do you need more hearts?
We do need more hearts, yes, but it's been a really, really good initiative. And what we've been doing is, I believe the idea originally was Suzanne and Barry's, our Archdeacon and his wife, who were encouraging people to think about how they could show God's love and encouragement to other people in a difficult time. And Suzanne originally made us some arts that we gave out to staff. And we've had some other things. We've had fridge magnets and cards and things since then that we give. And whenever we're talking to staff or patients, and maybe they're going through difficulty, just to be able to give them a small token that expresses that encouragement and that sense of love, and that someone's thinking of you, that they can look at and hold again and again, has been really appreciated by people, and reduced people to tears in a good way at times. That's been quite profound for them.
That's wonderful. Well, we encourage obviously everybody to send in hearts if they have them, and to help continue that wonderful project.
Yeah, I mean, if we can encourage churches to get involved, and if they want to make hearts both for us and for wider use around to give to people, that would be really great.
Brilliant. Well, Simon, thank you for joining us, obviously in your busy schedule, and yeah, thank you for just being with us, and wish you a very Merry Christmas.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Worship is one of those things that over the previous year has had to change for a number of us. Worshipping online and meeting with our church and our family and our community in lots of a variety of ways. Some of you may have seen the summer soaring services online and might recognise the face of the two people who are joining us again here tonight. Malk and Chris, we're so thankful that you're here with us. Thank you for joining us.
So I think we've got one of your clips to watch, so let's take a look at that first, and then we'll come back to you.
When you broke the bond, how we used to be. You rolled away the storm. You set the captive free.
First question I've got for you is, how did your musical duo start? Where did it begin?
Well, it was way back in 1999-2000 when I first was dragged to church by my wife, and then the rector at the time, Tim Britton, he came up to me one day and said, "I believe you play guitar," and the rest was history. So that's where I met Chris and his family, and we've been playing music there since then.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun, yeah.
Hasn't it? Yeah. I suppose we've both been there each week, haven't we? Since 2000, really.
Wow. Nearly.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So you've both got quite a unique style with your music. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right, well, I guess we take worship seriously on a Sunday morning, but it doesn't always go to plan. So if it doesn't go to plan, we try and cover our tracks the best we can and giggle.
Yes, and there's always a giggle when it goes wrong, to the extent that even when it doesn't, but there was a point where there should have been something that went wrong, we tend to giggle there as well.
Well, and does it go wrong a lot?
Yes.
Not that much, really.
Oh, it does. From my perspective, it goes wrong a lot.
Well, you're just being a musician. You're a musician that goes wrong all the time, so...
How have you seen worship change over the last 9 months? So obviously as worship leaders in your church and moving that online, how have you seen that change, and also people's responses to worship too?
Well, I've really enjoyed the worship in a new way this year, surprisingly, because for me it's been a little bit more relaxed than being at the front of church and on duty and trying to get the congregation to sing, because doing it from the safety of home and having loads of time to do it, because we all had loads of time, didn't we, in lockdown. So it became a really enjoyable thing from my perspective, particularly doing things with Malk, because everything with Malk's a bit of a giggle, really, isn't it? So the worship became for me more enjoyable. But thinking about that and whether that was right theologically, I actually think it's a good thing. I don't think God intends us to be dead serious in worship all of the time. I think God allows us to laugh. He's given us laughter, hasn't he? So I think that's a good thing, and actually it might be something that we'll take back into church when church reopens. I think we should make worship more fun. Yeah.
It was a bit of a journey. Yeah, it was a bit of a journey. The first week was I need to do a live worship stream. I don't know why I have to, but I have to do a live worship stream. So that's what I did on Facebook, and we did another one the following week with my son on piano, and then the whole church were rising to the challenge of how do we do services, how do we do worship, how do we do anything, and from our point of view, luckily there was a heat wave because we could go and sing songs in the back garden and record them, and with birds singing in the background and jet planes not going overhead, and it sort of snowballed and progressed into how can we make it different. So again, we started looking at recording our own parts and putting them together, and then multi-track recording, and it just snowballed into it, because we're quite techie as well, aren't we?
Well, yes, Malcolm more so than I am, but he's dragged me sort of through the various technologies and things, and so it's certainly increased my skill set, knowing how to use a mobile phone to record a video. I didn't know how to do that. And I was astonished with the quality as well that you can get from these little devices. So lots of new discoveries.
They are quite brilliant, and that sounds like a real journey that you've been on over the last few months, and it's great. And so tonight you'll be singing us out, but before we kind of get there, tell us a little bit about this Christmas song that you're going to be singing for us.
Right, okay, it's a song that was suggested and we quite liked, and we've been working on it. It's by Casting Crowns, and it's I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day.
Well, Chris and Mark will be singing us out shortly, and whilst we do that, we'll be sharing with you what your local churches are doing for Christmas near you.
But before Chris and Malk do sing us out, we've got one short message from Bishop John. You'll be thankful his brother's not with him this time, who's going to be giving us just some thoughts for the reason for the season.
Well, please excuse my strange friends, but it's great to be with you. And wow, what an evening we've had. So much going on, so many good things, so many signs of God's love in action in our chaplaincies, in our parishes, in our communities, in our schools, in our cathedral. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, what we've been showing and celebrating tonight. There's so much more. And there's even more than that, so much more that is beneath the radar of publicity that we don't know about in your communities, in your relationships, the difference that you are making in the lives of those around you, and the different ways in which we are serving God, we're serving others in the name of Christ. And we're growing in community, so many signs of communities growing together in service in the context of the adversity that we have been facing. And not just the pandemic, but obviously there's all sorts of trials and struggles that many of us have of other sorts too. But we're celebrating tonight and at Christmas, and actually always, the God who comes to us where we are in the midst of real life. Christianity is the least escapist faith, in the sense that we celebrate Jesus, God incarnate, who came to live among us in the reality of our lives, in the real struggles. And John uses in that great opening chapter the word that is translated, God pitches his tent among ours. God is saying, I'm with you. I am with you where you are. And this is a message for us to receive afresh and to communicate afresh. God is with us. One of the inspirational moments to me in terms of music recently is that wonderful setting of the Aaronic blessing. And it was written as to be a blessing to the nation, God's blessing for the whole nation. And in it, there's a little diversion at one point that says he is with you and he is for you. And that phrase, he is for you, really struck me, because we celebrate the God who's with us and for us. He's on our side. And that's the message that we need to receive and to share. God with us. God loves you. And there's all sorts of ways in which God is working. And let's not underestimate any one of us here what God wants to do and will do through each of us. We may think ourselves as inadequate. Well, that is the first qualification. We need to know that, we are in our own strength not able to do it, but trust that God will do it through us when we make our lives available to him. So Christmas, as we welcome the Christ child once more into our hearts, to a central place into our hearts and lives. And Christmas, when we communicate the love of Christ to others. So let's celebrate all that God is doing and continue to be alongside those in particular need, in particular struggle. And God always blesses those who honor him. And God indeed invites us to bless himself. Bless the Lord, O my soul. So let's grow in our blessing of God, in our praise of God in the midst of the struggles. And let us pray that in that relationship with the living God who meets us in Christ, we will communicate that same love of God to others, that his kingdom will grow among us. So God bless you, and have a wonderful Christmas. And may you know, especially those who are in particular struggles, may you know God's presence and peace, the God who promises, I am with you always to the end of the age. So a very happy Christmas, and let's celebrate God and all that God is doing and grow in his good purposes for each one of us. Amen.
It's great that you could join us this evening. To find a church service near you, whether it's carol services, Christmas Day services or nativity events, visit a church near you. And I guess that leaves us with a final message of hope and prayer. We pray and hope that you have a wonderful Christmas, however you're celebrating. And from both of us and the online Christmas show team, we wish you a very happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Chris and Matt, over to you.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and mild and sweet their songs repeat, of peace on earth, goodwill to men, and the bells are ringing like a choir, they're singing. In my heart I hear them. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. But the bells are ringing, peace on earth, like a choir singing, peace on earth. Does anybody hear them? To men. Then rang the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead and though he sleeps, shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men, and ringing, singing on its way. The world revolved from night to day. A voice of the chimes, chant sublime, of peace on earth, goodwill to men, and the bells they're ringing, peace on earth, like a choir they're singing, peace on earth, and with our hearts we'll hear them, peace on earth, goodwill to men. Do you hear the bells they're ringing? Peace on earth. The light, the angels singing. Peace on earth. Open up your heart and hear them. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Peace on earth. Peace on earth, peace on